Now recognize long-suffering gentleman from Texas, Mr. Pfluger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good to see you, Administrator. Congratulations. What a breath of fresh air. And to my colleague's question, will you come visit? Thank you for saying yes to whether it's the gentleman from Louisiana or any other state. We couldn't get a single visit in West Texas from the previous administrator, and we desperately needed it because of the overreach. And what you saw was the Supreme Court of the United States struck down the overreach of agencies like the previously run EPA in their Loper Bright decision that was so important when you're talking about Quad O, B, and C. And what the other side told me for 4 straight years is, oh, we're working with industry. No, there was no collaboration with industry. And I want to thank you for saying yes and agreeing to go visit a lab or whatever it is. And by the way, the money laundering scheme that we saw in the previous administration that sent $2 billion to that company, who was the CEO of that company?
Power Forward Communities. I'll get that for you.
Not meant to be a trick question. I just thought it might have been a gentlelady from Georgia.
Sure. The CEO of Power Forward Communities was Tim Myopoulos, who was also CEO of Fannie Mae during the Obama administration.
Okay. Moving to what I want to talk about, Quad O, B, and C, and the Subpart W reporting included in your 31 points. Thank you for that. We have to compete with China. We want the EPA to make sure that our environment is protected. There is no argument whatsoever there. Can you give us a status on what the Quad O series for new and existing and also the Subpart W will get to? Because this is not workable for our producers that are especially small scale.
Both reconsiderations were announced on March 12th. We will be following the Administrative Procedure Act on both, working to get this work finalized this year. It will include a public comment period. I will not prejudge outcomes of either rulemaking before, and we will follow our obligations under the law in going through that rulemaking, Congressman.
Thank you, and I'll advocate for reality. We were very pleased that Mr. Mason, the Region 6 Director, came and visited the Permian Basin, and just before your visit, I'd like to invite you again. But one of the things we talked about was, especially with regards to methane, the monitoring that is being done, and to incentivize that good behavior, we have reduced the intensity of methane in the Permian Basin by almost 30%, and that's happened in the last 10 to 15 years, while also increasing the amount of barrels produced from 1 million barrels a day back in 2010 to 6 million barrels a day. And the complexity that goes on to reduce that intensity, we want to work with you. I encourage that work. Do you have any ideas on where the previous administrator was looking at the Permian Basin in general to place into a state of non-attainment with regards to the ozone reporting? Any updates on that for us? This was something that interjected a lot of chaos into that region.
It's a very important pillar. It's a very important pillar of the Powering the Great American Comeback Initiative to advance cooperative federalism. Part of that with the reorg is creating an office for state air partnerships inside of the Office of Air and Radiation. We have approved 25 state implementation plans, including 16 that were backlogged from the last administration. We are working through these non-attainment requests and issues, including inside the Permian Basin. We want to be a partner at EPA for Texas and the local community.
Well, thank you. It was very apparent to my constituents that the EPA had become weaponized, and working in partnership is exactly the key word. We appreciate that. And again, I'll say it very clearly, not a single person in my district wants, in fact, we are true conservationists. We've lived there for a long time. Water is something that's very important to us. I'll yield the last 30 seconds to you for any rebuttals or follow-ups that you needed to make from previous questioning.
Well, a couple days after our regional administrator, Scott Mason, was with you in your district, I was there, and I thought it was a very productive, helpful visit, meeting with the community. I think it's important for whoever is an EPA administrator to come, for them to include that as part of being familiar with how EPA regulations out of Washington, D.C. End up impacting realities on the ground. So it was an important early stop to make. I was happy to do it. And I'm grateful for your invite and Senator Cruz's invite for that trip.
Well, thank you. We want to work in partnership. We have to compete with China. We have to compete around the world, which means that we can't have a weaponized agency. Thank you for your leadership, and I yield back.